Silver Summit at the Davenport Hotel in beautiful Spokane, Washington, hosted by the Cambridge House International. And I'm very, very happy and very pleased to have with me Jeffrey Christian of the CPM Group. He's actually founded the firm in 1986. He's worked with the United Nations, the World Bank, International Finance Corporation, and the International Monetary Fund. So he is one of the authorities on the metal space. So I'm very happy to have you here, Jeffrey, this morning.
It's good to be here. Thank you for having me.
Excellent, thank you. So, you were recently on BNN, and one of the topics that came up was the Shanghai Gold Exchange. It's now open. They actually opened ahead of time. They're opening their gold and silver contracts for trade. Does this really have an influence on the gold price, or is it just a change of mix? And not to mention, they even have now offered the kilo bar contract, which was previously offered several years ago, but failed. So what's the difference now?
Well, I think there are a lot of things going on. And the Shanghai Gold Exchange has opened its international contract, which allows holders of yuan, overseas yuan, to buy gold in the international free trade zone. And there's still a membrane between the international free trade zone and the gold market in mainland China. But I think it's a big step in the right direction. Our understanding is that they will hopefully, as early as in the first quarter of next year, allow people to buy and sell gold in the international market in Shanghai, denominated in a number of currencies. And I think that's very big because it's big for the gold market because it gives people increased flexibility there. It's big for the Chinese gold market, and it's also big for the international currency markets because it's a move in the direction of allowing individuals and corporations to transact in a host of different currencies within China. I think this is one of many things that's going on. So the CME has started a gold kilo contract deliverable in Hong Kong. The Singapore Gold Exchange is also starting up trading. You're seeing an increased interest in gold around the world, and you're seeing different organizations like the Shanghai Gold Exchange, the CME, Singapore, make gold available in more ways. And they're doing that because there's more interest in gold, even actually not even in the face of lower prices, but partly because of the lower prices. You're seeing a lot of interest around the world. And the fact that you have these different ways to invest in gold and trade gold probably will enhance the total volumes of gold being purchased by investors.
One question I have is that China's looking to internationalize their currency, the renminbi or the yuan. So you mentioned that it's open to all currencies. Does that go against what they're trying to do with their own currency?
No, absolutely not. I mean, I think the Chinese central bank's view about future currency systems is the same view that a lot of monetary authorities and experts and central banks have around the world, which is to move not toward a different reserve currency from the dollar, but rather to increase the liquidity of a lot of different currencies. And it's part and parcel of this move toward a multipolar international currency regime, which is what a lot of people, including the majority, the people of the Bank of China, sort of see as the long-term solution to the currency.
And I guess Singapore is another example that allows for holding assets abroad.
Right.
Is that correct?
Singapore has a deregulated gold market.
Right.
You can move gold into Singapore, you can move gold out of Singapore. So Singapore has an advantage over Shanghai right now.
Do geopolitical events still have the same, or is it still an influence on precious metal prices?
I think that international political affairs still have as much influence on gold prices as they've always had. Now, one of the things that you have to look from thinking, I remember in 1982, 83, people asked me why the Argentine invasion of the Falkland Islands didn't affect gold. I said, because the sheep in the Falkland Islands don't own a lot of gold.
Right.
It wasn't an important factor. In 1987, when the 7th Fleet sailed into the Persian Gulf and we reflagged Kuwaiti tankers, the price of gold fell. Everybody thought the gold price would rise because the U.S. Navy was injecting itself into the Gulf War between Iran and Iraq at the time. We asked our clients in Kuwait and in Abu Dhabi and Dubai at the time, why is the gold price falling? I said, because our political problems have been solved. It's the U.S. Navy's problem now. So you have to look at it. Cyprus was a major crisis in the financial market. It had very little to do with gold. There had been a comment about whether or not the very small amounts of gold that the Cypriot Central Bank had could be pledged against the loan. It was immediately knocked down within the ECB because it's such a small amount, it was meaningless to their debt problems.
Right.
But gold marketers grabbed that, twisted it around, distorted what the suggestion was, which was to use the gold as collateral against these major multi-billion-dollar loans, and instead said, oh, the Cypriot Central Bank may sell gold, which was never an issue, never a consideration among the central bankers.
Right.
But, and then people were shocked that, the price of gold fell on rumors or fears that they would sell their gold, and then it came back when people realized it was thing. The Ukraine thing is a much more difficult thing, and I think what you're seeing with the Ukraine and with the Syrian civil war.
In the last few years, you've seen the Indian government hammer down on import tariffs as well as the 80-20 rule. But then this last quarter, we've seen a record amount of gold imported again, record amount of silver imported as well. And now the risk premium for smuggling is at around 1.5%, which is around $245 to $470 per kilo. What can we expect? Is this sustainable, and what is the Indian government going to do?
Well, yeah. First off, I think one of the problems is that the Indian government is addressing the current account symptoms,
Yes.
and not the current account causes. So they still have a lot of economic problems that they have to deal with, and hopefully the new government can do better than the previous government, but that remains to be seen. What you're seeing, I think, in the Indian gold market is that investors and others are finding ways to work around the tariffs and the 80-20 rule and other issues, and they're also saying, it doesn't matter what the premium is, I think I want to buy gold.
Right.
So Diwali is just occurring now, I guess, or it's just ending, and the
It's on the 23rd.
Yeah, the reports that we've gotten is that gold demand during Diwali is up about 20% from last year.
Yep.
That's a pretty healthy thing, but last year was kind of restrained because of the import restrictions.
Correct.
So that's a lot of gold. So
Right.
you're seeing a stronger gold market in India as people sort of adjust to the tax regime and say, it doesn't matter, I still want to buy the gold. Those households hold that gold expressly because they don't have a lot of faith in the financial system, the banking system, and the government in India. And you're not going to get those people holding that gold as a hedge against those problems and those institutions. You're not going to get them to give that gold to banks to lend them
Absolutely.
out. Right there. And the answer that they got is, well, we're not actually focusing on the households. We're focusing more on the gold that's held by the different temples.
Right.
Because they have tax-exempt status as religious institutions, and it would be a pity if we removed the tax-exempt status on religious institutions. There are a couple temples where they've discovered gold, and there's one very large one where there's an investigation as to where the gold really is, and how much is there, and the people who own and manage the temple are refusing to open the doors to some of the safe rooms in the basement. So there's a lot of stuff going on there, but
We'll find out the next CPM report.